Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of AI Amigos Show. My name is Marina, and I'm very happy to be here again with my two good friends, James and Chanchao. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Hello, very good.
Hey everyone. Hey Marina, you're in Argentina, right? That's what last
I
week
am in
you said.
Argentina, almost with no boys, eating a lot of steak, living the life.
Living the dream.
So, guys, it's great to be here today, even with the time difference. And today we are bringing a topic that actually ring probably some bells. It is there for a couple of months, but now it's gaining more and more attention. And we are talking about how the language models are actually changing, what is happening with the task-based AI that is nowadays in the market. So maybe I just throw the ball to the field and I ask you guys, how do you see that it's getting different and how much people are actually paying for it? I think this is kind of the main point at the moment as well.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I see like a lot of organizations. I think I was in a web shop today. They were talking about like a lot of organizations want to incorporate AI, but don't know how. Beyond a chat GBT, right? So you say, okay, yes, that helps you do things, but how can we get AI to do tasks for us, right?
Mm,
That's where this topic is really, I think it's really important. And because a lot of, let's talk about use cases. How can I use this in my organization?
Yeah, exactly. I remember in one of our last episodes, we were talking about, okay, now AI is actually deploying codes, developing codes, and then the developers, they are kind of being supervisors of AI instead of writing the full code from scratch. And I think that we are going towards that direction in different tasks in the industry, not only with coding, but also, with other tasks that we have to do. We talk a lot about automation, and how can we do to get it automated for us and so on. But I imagine with the new changes or what we are, talking now, it is going to a total different scale. I mean, using ChatGPT or using OpenAI, yes, it's super helpful, but you need to be there and indicate with the prompts what you want, what are you expecting, and then supervising this. And then I say, no, I want something different. I want another thing. But what's the difference between that and an AI based, sorry, task based AI? So then, if we compare it, for example, if we want to show a use case, what would be the difference? Let's say that I'm starting with that.
Okay, so Chow, you want to take that, or you want me to go?
like I think task AI, task kind of LM, it's probably the way to go because after those what do you call it, AI fairy dust of creating image, yeah, or created a package or whatever action figure on OpenAI, underlying is you wanted to do something, and then this is interesting as well. Like uh, if we look back how people react with machines, right? And this is inevitable. People will change. First was like people are in the factory using the machines, making all those by hand. You roll it and then you cut some metal, whatever. And then the revolution came, right? And people start using CAD to design it, but taking the human element out of the factory. You know, the CAD design software, right? You design it, send it to the machine digitally, and it does this job. So more and more likely, those kind of open AI stuff, we're seeing that shift is like you said, people are not coding that much now, but you still need a supervisor to sit on it to actually check, oh, this is what I'm giving the instruction of. I want this. I want to use this, created that. And then it will create that, and then you supervise it. So it makes sense if we wanted to do the kind of task more, the task LM will be the way to go, and it's more efficient.
But here, so something that comes to my head is then it will change totally the way that we know how to work. because
Yeah,
you know at the end of the day, so I believe that there are many positions or many roles that would actually not disappear but change the sense of what we are doing. As I said, instead of being the creators or the developers or those who are actually in the hard coding stuff, etc., so then we will be rather supervisors. And also something that I'm thinking, and I cannot avoid thinking about this because I work in a startup accelerator. So what will happen with the startups that they are creating AI products? I mean, in the end, my sensation is like the big giants are creating stuff that will over dominate the market, as it happened, for example, with Windows, when Microsoft just came to the market.
it's starting now already. Sorry, James. It's
No,
starting now
Yes, yes.
because you see, Google is catching up so quick, and then James just showed us this operator on OpenAI. And then last week I heard the news about Builders.ai. It's a small startup company. They they went to the first round, got 600 million, and then now they're bankrupt. And then there's talk about Lovable.ai with literally a small, literally just you put in the prompts inside, it created a website for you. And then James noticed Google can do that now, Firebase and all that.
we did that
So
last week. Yeah.
yeah, so the large company has large amount of resources start eating up this market share now because they can give a really
Totally.
cheap price. Yeah,
Yes, totally, 100%. But this is actually, my main concern as well. I always try to tell people, try to build your AI around what your client needs, because if you start creating and then you add features and stuff, probably the big companies, they already do it, or they're already working on that. So then it's very likely that you get obsolete very soon. And especially now that the AI is basically working for us, and we know that the AI has um, greater capabilities, let's say, so then they can work more than a human, they can think faster than a human. So then I think it would actually change a lot the game.
Well, that's why I think where task language models, and we go back to the way when we first started with machine learning, and Jin Shao touched on this, where it's more efficient, and it's the task, it's then to the task, so it's the task towards your organization rather than where it's a large language model is just that it's very general, very large, it's not very specific. So if you
Mhm.
develop something that's very tasked to an organization, then obviously then that's large companies, is like Michelle's, or you're saying there, is that they'll come in, but they won't be able to. And if you think of, they won't be able to compete with that because they're only able to do things that are very big and very general. And if you think about how it uses, how much a large language model is, and you talk about efficiencies, I think about when I was growing up, there was this guy that I knew, and I mean, still know him, but as you've probably seen, like in the States, there's the driveway, and there's the mailboxes at the front of the driveway, and the house is on the other end of the driveway.
yeah,
And let's say it's 10 meters. Okay. I
Okay.
remember he would get in his car, back up the car for the 10 meters, get his mail, and then drive it back to the front.
Why?
He was lazy. I
Just
don't
not to
know.
move.
Well, exactly. But you think about that, the large amount of energy spent on that. And that's how large language models, when you think about if you just want to do some work for you in your organization for simple classification or regression, to
yeah,
use AI to do that, it's just such a big waste, if you know
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like you don't need something that big. And just going to what you were saying about like startups, I remember with the .com bubble, like there was so many companies that the internet was, and we weren't there yet. And it's kind of like I'm not saying history, like Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. I've seen
Yes.
this. I've seen this story before.
yeah,
So there will be entrants, like you said, Jin Chao, like that will happen. And then like this last week, Microsoft put their Copilot as open source, and
yeah.
OpenAI bought this company for 3 billion, and from one day to the next, that 3 billion is wiped out.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. Like when Microsoft initially was very close with OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
But now it doesn't seem like, oh, you go your way, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Microsoft. There's a Magentic UI is doing the kind of like operator kind of thing in OpenAI. They have their open sourced, but you have to use Azure models, all that. So basically, you install on your computer, you can ask him to do things. They open the website and search it and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but
And if
but
you use, I was gonna say, if you, sorry, just to say, if you use their open source, and you forked off their repo, and you
yeah,
use something else, then do they own the underlying? I mean, like, can they then see what you've done and then incorporate what you've done?
yeah. Normally they have you have to look into the MIT license, right? If it's the MIT, it's okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
sometimes they have the commercial stuff. You see, the NAN has commercial stuff in there. If you wanted the commercial, you have to kind of like what do you call it? Contact us or something, get support or something like that. So if you're doing everything yourself, it's okay.
Fair enough.
no, totally. But guys, something that really gets my attention in this is the example, James, that you gave is fantastic. It is true that sometimes, when you are using, for example, OpenAI, and you said, okay, I use ChatGPT, you use a lot of energy for it to actually that's what you want, learning how to really prompt well, how to do this properly, how to ask exactly what you want to get the answers that you want, and so on. And then when you already know that what are the tasks that you want, and when it is task based, so then the effort of the human is actually much less, you know. And when I think about the history, as you said, Jean-Charles, like,
Yeah.
okay, the history doesn't doesn't repeat itself, but it shows us different stuff. Something that I have seen and I always remember about the Industrial Revolution is like people really didn't want the Industrial Revolution to come. They weren't happy with the machines because there were some positions that they thought, okay, so then the machine will replace us. But in
Mm.
the end, if they learn how to use the machines, then they kept their job.
The
And
Luddites,
this,
let's call
this,
them.
this sorry.
The Luddites.
Yes, and then this is what I believe that will happen in the end with AI, because I now I see that it is touching all the industries. Recently, I had a talk with friend of mine. She's a lawyer and she has her own studio, right, like law firm. And then she was telling me, "Oh, I'm amazed with everything that you can do with AI to promote, like your law firm, etc." And then I was like, yeah, but what are you using? Like, tell me, like, so then maybe I can guide you. And then she told me, oh, I'm using ChatGPT all the time. I asked ChatGPT to create like images of some of our cases. And then it was like, okay, but this is kind of the minimum that you can do. There are so many things that you can do in automation. Um, for example, well, so I have seen like the chatbots. You can have people asking for, I don't know, like, okay, I need a consultation. I need an appointment. I need a lawyer expert in ABC. Well, we have seen this with many companies.
Yeah, and I mean, like, like, there's different things where, like, if you got like emails, if it's just a simple response, like on FAQs, if you have a knowledge base using RAG, you can do that. But what happens
Clear.
when, in the workflow, there's a thread that goes back and there's a intricacy, so that's really good for like inquiries, right? Someone from the outside say, hey, what are your service? What about this? But what if you have a customer and it's asking you a very specific question? So let's say, for example, Marina, your friend at the law office. So if you say, okay, so you have, let's say, a chatbot created with, OpenAI, and you say, okay, do you have an appointment? Do you have this? And of course, it will be able to do things like that. But if then you go back later as the client of theirs, who's the best, solicitor for this or that. But once they have, you're like, oh, I've got this, and this is what my case is, and what about this, and what about that? It's very specific to the case. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Yes.
not generalized. And this is where like a language model would come in, because you would train it on the data of the organization and the tasks that they have done, rather than just a very generalized. So
Yeah.
really, you can do a lot of single shot where that doesn't work well with LLMs or like ChatGPT. Additionally, with ChatGPT and others, you have to do prompt engineering. with TLMs, you don't have to do prompt engineering because it has the context of the workflow of the tasks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then this is actually a very good point, James, because I have seen different chatbots that they answer according to whatever is connected to OpenAI, for example, or with the API that they are using, whatever API they use, that it could be OpenAI, Gemini, Llama, etc. But the thing is, what happens when there is a specific case, as you said? So then, if I am a client and I'm writing about my case and it answers me whatever, like something totally different, then probably would be super angry. But the point is, it is really good that there are some companies that they know that they can do this. And I'm not really sure that all the companies know it, because imagine like in this situation, for instance, you
Well,
know.
Stripe did it. Remember, I know there was an article on LinkedIn that they used their underlying data to classify fraudulent transactions, and they took an accuracy rate of like 67% over 90. I think it was like 91, 92, and they use underlying data to do that. And well, we all know here in regards to using AI, like classification or regression, like you use that underlying data and you improve your models. And I think that the focus of AI has moved to just ChatGPT or Gemini, or whereas
Yes,
it's
but
like,
not everywhere. Yes, but not
Mm.
everywhere, and not in all the industries. And this is, what I want to highlight, because something that happens many times, and especially, when people say, okay, we want to implement AI, what can I do? They just go to ChatGPT. That this is what happened, for example, with this industry, or even in research
and we use
companies.
AI, and then they say, oh, and we use AI like your friend.
Yeah, exactly. For
And
example,
I'm not trying to insult or talk down to people that do that, but we're saying that is a very small. It's the tip of the iceberg, if you will.
exactly, exactly. It is fantastic. I always say, and I always mention, it's the first time that everyone, any person without any AI or technical knowledge could interact with the machine. So then, in that sense, OpenAI has done a fantastic job, and I just like put my hat off, for OpenAI in that sense. Fantastic, but there is like a lot more, and well, there are many startups as well, or many consulting companies that they are offering other services, and especially when we talk, for example, with task based. Well, we know
I
a
don't
couple of them anyway.
think it will cost that much money. I looked into this. Like, if you wanted to fine tune one, that's why a lot of like those large company knows the models, why they want a general large model and why they wanted to have a small model. Like Google has a Gemini as a large model, but they have Gamma as well. That's a small model, 3 billion, 12
Mhm.
billion, 24 billion, very, very small. And same apply with Facebook and Llama, right? With Llama has 7 billion, 3 billion, and um, Microsoft has this Phi, they call PHI. They're like as small as like yeah, 0.1 billion or 500 million. There is, to
Yeah.
train a 3 billion, you're talking about 1 to 3 days, fine tune it. It's not that big amount of money, but if the guys knows that, like, you can run it for 3 days, probably, I don't know, guess on cheap ones,
But
200, 400. Compare it if you get like a really working model, it's not
think
bad.
about this,
That's
Michelle. We're talking that you're saying that that's cheap now. Imagine when it was 4 or 5 years ago, we would say that was really expensive.
yeah,
The times have changed.
yeah, like
Well,
that's
but
yeah, that's just fine tuned. But like, I'm talking
Yeah.
about small models, right? So you don't want to touch on the deep seek, like 672 billion. That's too much.
I
can, can,
remember I tried to do a network and it took over 40 hours. I remember
Yeah.
doing that,
wow.
and I thought like, whoa, that's a lot. And now you have like ChatGPT that takes months, and like you got these huge GPUs, and I have my computer here that I have a 3000 RTX, but it's just nothing compared to what these guys have.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marina, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was about to say that the computational cost is something that nobody really talks about. In general, okay, so how long do you actually have a task running? I remember as well. Once I even remember that it was a recommendation system, and it took forever. Like I left it, like I remember, overnight, and then when I woke up in the morning, I was like, okay, well, then finally got the result. But there are, many models that would take a lot of time. The problem is, of course, how much data you have, what is the GPUs that you have available, and depending whatever you want to run, right? So then it is. It would be like, like attached to whatever you get, what you pay for. I remember a good friend of mine told me that once.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's true.
Someone who knows, someone who knows. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
No, but seriously, guys, I believe that having task-based AI, it's kind of coming back to the origins of what AI really is. I remember a few days ago we had a workshop, and a person who studied IT and computer science, and have been in the game for a while, like, let's say, I don't know, in the last 20, 30 years. And then he was talking about what is happening today, and how he saw everything. And I remember he always mentioned, because I was in touch with him for a while, so he always mentioned AI didn't change. AI is the same. The only thing is, like, I believe that humans started using it much more than before, or we found a way that everyone can use it, and it's not that there is one person like in the machine because it's the only person who can or who knows how to use the computer. But the bases are always the same. Like, it didn't change. It's like using the same bases and creating maybe new models, and in or fine tune it, or getting to know how to improve it. But the bases, the lines are the same. So then we have an agent, and the agent is doing the task that we are asking it to do for us.
Yeah, we were doing this back in 2019. Remember, when we first started studying, and it was
Yes,
used just machine learning to do certain things, like whether prediction or clustering analysis or anomaly
totally.
detection or any of that kind of stuff. Where LLM, I mean, I don't like this term because I feel like it's overused, but they've kind of, I wouldn't say that maybe this is the correct term, but democratize AI, meaning they've given it to the masses. Everyone has access to AI, where before it was like very, very specific, but it's been around for ages.
Exactly. And there's something that is actually there that is super important to highlight, according to what you're mentioning here, because now it's massive. Everyone can use it. You don't need to know how to code or how to create a model to actually get some results. That is true. But then how do you know if the result is actually logic? So then you need, in the end, someone who really understands what you're doing, or what you are placing, what you're running. I still believe that it will be necessary.
Well, yeah,
I
you
think
need a domain knowledge expert, and you need someone who can understand.
Yes,
Sorry.
exactly. Exactly. So then, even if it is democratized, as you say, we still need people who understand what is going on behind it. Before, everyone was talking about the black box, the black box. We don't know what is there. We don't know what is in the model. Well, even though, like, now, I think worse than the black box is that there are people who really don't understand what is happening in the models, and they're using AI, and they use the result, but they don't really know the basis behind it. And I think that this could actually be a problem in the future. So then we really need experts in the area.
Hmm.
But in fairness, who is an AI expert? I don't know. Like, at this point, I don't even have, like, the nerve to say, yeah, I'm an AI expert, because I'm an AI lead. I think AI expanded really a lot in different industries, and it's really hard to consider yourself as an AI expert
Well, things are
anymore.
changing so fast.
Yeah, but it's I think it's different, to be honest. Like, from 2018, 2019, that time, there is a chatbot, there is machine AI chatbot as well. It just, before the transformer architecture come in, it's not efficient, it's not smart. And
Mhm.
OpenAI just says, okay, let's just give massive amount of data, see how good it is. So literally, that's it, right? They didn't change anything, just put in more and more data and become smarter and smarter and smarter. And to this moment now is, where do they find data? We hit the bottleneck, right? But also come back to the very much blow my mind out the moment is before, like James and you said, it's very task related. When we train something, it do certain task. What happened in the moment GPT-3 come out is like it can do a lot of stuff relatively okay, and that's never happened before. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's why it's kind of we just go on to this road, but now kind of we're thinking about how efficiency and how does the system talk to other system. We go back to this. Now we need task related models to actually do stuff after
Yes.
other than created a nice TikTok video or music or whatever, right?
So then that one is not enough anymore.
So you're saying we've come full circle, Jinshao? Is that what you're saying? We come back to the,
Well,
the
that's what
beginning?
it is. Consolidate, right? Consolidate.
That's the point. We go back to the basis because the basis of AI, they didn't change. What changed is how we actually use it and how the big companies that actually use it to place it, and having it there for everybody.
Well, I mean,
So
that's the thing as well, is like, this is now, sorry, this is the economic side of me coming out, but it has to have utility. If it doesn't have utility, meaning in business and organizations to make money, then they're not going to pay for it. It is nice, it is cool, but at the end of the day, cool's not paying the bills. Cool's not, increasing revenue, and that's where it's going to come down to, is how is this going to make my organization money?
totally, 100%. I agree on that. Well, guys, I think it was a very interesting chat today. And I'm really sure that we will add more and more, not just to this topic, but everything that is changing with AI. Guys, thank you so much for your time. It was amazing to have you. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you next week in our next episode.
And still in Argentina, yeah?
Yes, still in Argentina with the time difference, and hopefully we can do this on Thursday as our usual day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.